going to share with you an easy fluffy bread pudding dotted with raisins, topped with a warm custard. Keep watching, you don't want to miss this one.
Hi and welcome back to Plating It with Wendy, where I share with you recipes which are pressed with ease. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a like, share and comment. And if you enjoy trying out recipes that turn out right every time, you're at the right place. So go ahead, press that subscribe button. And while you're at it, if you hit the bell icon, you'll be the first to get notified every time I upload a new video. Now, let's get started.
For this recipe, we're going to be using a full loaf of bread. And I'm using a challah bread here. You could even get a pre-sliced loaf of bread, but I like to slice it at home because then I can keep the slices a little thicker. And once you finish slicing the bread, keep them in batches about 3 slices each, and then cut them into approximately 1 by 1 inch square cubes. We're going to toss it onto a baking tray, pop it into the oven, which we have preheated at 250 degrees Fahrenheit or 120 degrees Celsius, and we're just going to toast it for approximately 10 minutes. I'm doing this because I'm using a fresh bread here, but this recipe is best done with about a day-old bread. Now, while our bread is toasting in the oven, let's quickly prep our baking pan. And now we're generously going to brush on some butter on the bottom and all around the sides. This is going to help us to scoop the pudding out with ease when we want to enjoy it. And once you take the bread out of the oven, you're going to pour on half a cup of melted butter on top of all those lovely crispy cubes. And I'm using approximately half a cup of melted butter over here. Now let's keep that aside, and in a large deep bowl, we're going to crack 4 eggs. And now we're going to add in 3/4 cup of white granulated sugar, half a teaspoon of cinnamon, and I like to add in half a teaspoon of freshly grated nutmeg and 1/4 teaspoon of salt to bring out all those delicious flavors. Now let's give it a quick whisk to break down the eggs, and we're going to continue beating it just for a little bit so that we dissolve some of that sugar. Now that's looking pretty good, so now let's pour in 2 cups of milk and 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract. And once again, we're going to give it a quick whisk. Now into this, we're going to dunk all that buttery bread that we had prepped earlier. And we're going to gently press it down and then turn it around so that all the cubes of bread get a chance to absorb the mix. And once all the cubes of bread are looking saturated, we're going to first put half of them into that prepped baking pan before we toss on some of the raisins. And I'm using approximately about 1/3 cup of raisins in this recipe. And now let's put all the other bread on the top, and we're evenly going to distribute it all around. If you find that there's little extra mixture settled to the bottom, pour it on the top because you don't want to miss any of that delicious flavor. Now what I like to do is to turn some of the bits so that that crispy brown edge comes to the top. This gives it a beautiful look once it's baked. And now we're going to top this with some more raisins, and don't be shy to be generous. Now here's a little tip. What I like to do is to cover the baking pan with an aluminum foil and give it a slight slit on the top. This helps for even baking. And now we're going to place this in our preheated oven at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or 180 degrees Celsius, and we're going to bake it covered for 20 minutes before taking it off, and then continue baking it for another 20 minutes. Okay, now while our pudding is baking, let's quickly put together our pouring custard. To start, we're going to crack 2 eggs, and we're going to separate the egg yolks from the egg white, and we're going to add the egg yolks directly into our saucepan. To that, we're going to add 1/3 cup of sugar and a pinch of salt, and now 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. Now let's whisk that together till it turns a pale color. To loosen it up, we're first going to pour in half a cup of milk and blend it together. And then we're going to add the remaining 2.5 cups of milk. And I'm using a full fat milk here. We want that little extra deliciousness to our custard. Now this is totally optional, but you can always add in a dash of bourbon for a little extra flavor. And let's give that a quick whisk once again before putting it on to a medium heat. While this is on the heat, make sure that you keep whisking it, otherwise it's going to stick to the bottom. And once it begins to simmer, we're going to toss in 1 tablespoon of butter. And this is going to give our custard that extra rich flavor and a lovely shine. And now let's keep whisking till it begins to boil and thicken. Now this entire process of cooking should take about 10 to 15 minutes. And once it begins to boil, you're going to switch off the heat, add in 2 teaspoons of pure vanilla extract and take it off. And we're just in time. Our pudding is ready. And you know it's done when a knife insert into the center comes out clean. Now we're going to allow it to rest for about 20 to 30 minutes before we enjoy it. Now you could either enjoy it by dusting on some icing sugar or confectioner sugar on the top. And for some more deliciousness, you're going to pour on that lovely warm custard that we just prepared. Oh my goodness! Look at that!
And now it's time to give our bread pudding a taste. And I'm really excited because this looks absolutely delicious. And I'm just going to go in for a little bit more of the custard sauce because it's never too much that you can have on it. Wow. Just look at that. I like that little crispy crunch that you can get from the top. Wow, this bread pudding is definitely a winner. Perfect for after dinner. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this bread pudding. It's absolutely delicious. And that warm, creamy custard sauce that we poured on the top really adds to the flavor. I'm sure you're going to enjoy this one. So hop onto my website, platingitwithwendy.com, where you will find the full written recipe. Thanks for watching. See you soon.